If your Facebook ads have been working brilliantly for 2 to 3 weeks, your lead cost is great, you're getting appointments booked in, and you're starting to sign clients, but all of a sudden your performance drops off literally like a cliff, I can guarantee you it's down to 3 main things. So in this video, what I want to do is I want to walk you through what those 3 things are, how you can spot them before they become an issue, and ultimately how you can then ensure that once your ad starts bringing you performance, that never stops. So the first one is creative fatigue. Most business owners do not refresh their ads quick enough. And due to the Facebook algorithm updates, creatives can fatigue 40% quicker now than they used to 6 months ago. So if you're noticing that your cost per lead is consistently increasing over and over again, chances are this is probably down to the creative. And that doesn't mean that you need to come up with a completely new concept, but what it does mean is you need to launch some split tests and some variations of the ads that you're currently running. Now, the way that I like to run split tests is having multiple different campaigns. So inside your Facebook ad account, we can create campaigns. We can then have multiple different campaigns with multiple different ad sets inside them, and inside those ad sets, we can then have multiple different ads. So for example, inside our ad account, we can have multiple campaigns, multiple different ad sets, and then multiple ads within those ad sets. What we want to do is we want to have one campaign, which is our winning campaign, where we have our best performing creatives running, which takes the majority of the budget. But then what we want to do is we want to have a second campaign that has the same audience, same campaign setup, but just slightly different ads and a small portion of our daily budget. That then means that we can make sure to test multiple different creatives and different angles, and then ultimately not fatigue the main ad by pulling away budget and limiting its performance. That then means that once something's winning, Facebook keep pushing the majority of the spend to it because it's bringing us results, but then it means that we can test different variations and not then just be left in a position where the ads stop performing and we have nothing to mix in return, and then our ads just start bringing us nothing off the back of it. Now, the second key variable to look out for is what's called the frequency score. Now, the frequency score will tell us on average how many times does the same person see our ad. Now, back into Ads Manager, we can scroll to the far right and we can click the gray plus and customize the columns, and we can add some additional metrics, one of which would be frequency. Once we've added frequency, we'll then see that it will appear in our tracking dashboard, and we can then actually start monitoring what the frequency score is. We can monitor that on a campaign level, on an ad set level, and then per individual ad too. Now, when we look at the frequency score, a lot of the time, what we'll then see when an ad starts decreasing in performance is that the frequency increases. Now, it depends slightly what type of audience that we're targeting. If it's a retargeting campaign, our frequency score will always be a little bit higher, but generally if we're targeting a cold or a warm audience, this will be a little bit lower. So the warmer that an audience becomes, the higher the frequency score will be, because if you think about it, if we have a cold audience, there's going to be far more people in it than if we have a warm audience. So when we're looking at targeting a cold audience, which the majority of us will be looking at doing, we'll look at having a frequency score as low as possible, but definitely less than 4. When we're looking at a retargeting audience, which might have a small percentage of our spend, not our full spend, we can accept that that frequency score will be a little bit higher, around the 4 mark. Generally, it's okay with a retargeting audience to let that frequency score be a bit higher than that, but you wouldn't then run that for a prolonged period of time because you're literally just spending to show your ad to the same person over and over and over again. Especially with cold audiences, what you'll notice is when an audience is starting to fatigue and it needs to become broader, our frequency score will increase, and what that generally tells us is that we need to start expanding our audience. So we need to start targeting a broader range of people and a bigger pool of people, which will then mean that our frequency score will go back down. Now, the third metric that we want to look out for is our click-through percentage. So back into the dashboard, we can scroll across like we did previously, click the gray plus icon, and then add our custom columns, one of which we can search for CTR and choose link click-through rate. This will appear, and this will then show us the percentage of people who see the ad and click through the link on the ad. With the CTR percent, if this is less than 3%, we can generally conclude that the ad isn't good enough. What that means is we need a stronger hook, we need a stronger positioning, and the ad needs to be more attractive to potential leads in order to get them to click through from the ad to whatever the call to action is. And generally, if we optimize that CTR percent, our lead cost will decrease because we're getting more leads to click through for literally the same cost. Now, Facebook has generally a 7-day learning cycle. When we make changes and we first launch an ad, generally for 7 days, that ad will be in a learning phase before it then starts optimizing and optimize towards the outcome that we want. So let's say the ad, as an example, is set up to get bookings into our diary. If we optimize the ad for that, Facebook is going to try and optimize for that outcome. And when it starts getting that outcome, it's then going to start seeing the types of people who are making those bookings and then start trying to find more people with the same behaviors and the same interests. Because Facebook wants our ads to be profitable, because if they are, we'll spend more money and they'll make more money too. So a big thing to realize is with that campaign setup that I mentioned at the start, the reason we split the campaigns out is because every time we make a change, it puts the ad back into learning. So if we're then making constant changes to our main campaign, that's going to constantly put it back into learning and drop the performance. Whereas if we have the testing campaign, that's okay because it's there to test and it's there to have a small percentage of the budget before we then figure out if one of them's a winner, and then we allocate that X amount of budget to then run as a standalone campaign too. A lot of the time, business owners will kill their ads because they're too persistent at making changes all the time, rather than letting the ad actually run and optimize itself. Successful ad management is monitoring ads, but only making small little adjustments when it's truly needed. Your ads ultimately need time to optimize, and if you set up your ads properly to optimize for the right thing, Facebook will do a lot of the workload for you because they want your ads to work. So remember, if your ads have stopped performing, look at 3 things: your frequency score, your click-through rate, and whether your ad has actually started fatiguing and the lead cost is constantly increasing. And if that's the case, then you probably need to look at either expanding your audience, improving your ad, or launching variations of the ad that you already have in place right now.